Hi, I'm Gary Goldstein. I'm here at Blogworld Expo, and I have the great pleasure of sitting with Julie Handler and Eric Handler, who are the co-founders and creators of Positively Positive, this inspired community that started on Facebook. I'll let them tell the story, but over 1 million followers, very highly engaged followers, and more recently the launch of a new website. So just to kick it off, would you be kind enough to share with us a little bit about how this came to be?
Thank you, Gary. So Positively Positive, the Facebook page, was created in May of 2010, which was just over 1 year ago. And it was at the time when, personally, I was running my own company, which is a mortgage company. And this is at during one of the worst times in our economic history. And I was going through some issues in my own head about where I was at that point. And before that, I was actually very entrepreneurial. I've been a top agent in Hollywood and in the entertainment business for 10 years. So I've gone through my transitionary periods in the business world. So here we are almost a year and a half ago, and we just started thinking, okay, how do we put some more positivity in the world? That was as simple as that at the time. And we created a Facebook page called Positively Positive. It's facebook.com/Positively Positive, and started putting inspiring content up, whether it's quotes or videos or anything that personally inspired us. And within a very short time, it just started rolling. I think, because maybe of the economy, that had a lot to do with it. And we quickly realized, well, maybe this is something we could actually turn into a business idea. So over the months, we created a website, which just launched 3 weeks ago. It's positivelypositive.com, and it's off to the races. And we have contributors from all walks of life, creating blogs, articles, videos, interviews about things that might create some sparks of inspiration in others. And they range from celebrities to best-selling authors to musicians, athletes, people with disabilities, everyday people who've overcome odds, businessmen and women who are doing something great for themselves and in the world, and it's just off to the races.
Well, here's what's fascinating. First of all, I think it's fair to share with the audience the dirty little secret that we met back in, I'm going to guess it was like 1988.
It was exactly 1989.
In 1989, okay, I was close, and over the years that I've known Eric, he's had enormous success as an entrepreneur. He was a major, as he said, agent at one of the big agencies in Hollywood, and has an ongoing real estate mortgage company. So this really just sort of essentially filled a gap. Was there a sense of something more that you wanted to do, something missing from what you were doing?
That's a great question. Yeah, it was about 1.5 years ago. I was going through that transitionary period in my life where on the surface it would seem, have a great family, 2 beautiful children, an amazing wife and partner, but deep down there was that feeling of something was missing. It wasn't about the money per se, it wasn't about anything else, but it was something was missing. And I've always been most satisfied when there was some level of giving back and making other people uplifted. And this is coming from somebody who, I've been through it all. I've been through the Tony Robbins, and he's amazing, and all those types of things. And actually, when I first came home with the idea to Julie, it was funny because I told her the idea that I had, and I thought she was gonna say I was crazy, but she actually said, "Oh, great! Finally, all those years of self-help are finally going to pay off."
So, which is, we always talk about teamwork, right? It's critical in our home life. It's critical in business. It's critical in community, and yet there's kind of a new definition. I as opposed to conformity, which is really teamwork. When we were growing up, was a code word for conformity. Now it's about raising your unique individual voice, and so you were totally in alignment. But let me go back, because you talk about all these remarkable stories and people doing fascinating things in the world who are contributing now on a regular basis in all these different formats of video and interview and article and quotes and what have you. But it wasn't always like that. So tell me a little bit about like how long before people really started to take notice of you. Describe the evolution a little bit, if you would.
So the first few months, I think after about 60 days, we were at about 100,000 fans on Facebook. And it quickly became a page that is one of the most interactive pages on Facebook for fan interaction and engagement. Okay, I think the reason is because we try to be as authentic as possible. We don't try to tell the audience how to be or what to do. We just provide information that may support them in any way, shape, or form. So once we hit around 500,000 fans about 6 months in, that's when we started reaching out to people. Seth Godin was actually the first major person that we reached out to. And the amazing thing about Seth is I emailed him. Within 5 minutes, he emailed me back and said, "I'm on board. What do you want?" So everything kind of got rolling from there. At the 500,000 mark, Seth was number one on board. And then from there, we just, the list now is endless of people who are contributing, from, names you may recognize, from, Christy Turlington to Gary Vaynerchuk to Dr. Andrew Weil, and many, many, many others. So Seth was number one on board, though, and we'll always be there for Seth and anything he may need.
And so it becomes more diverse, more international, truly global as you go, and the stories become increasingly diverse. And I've seen your numbers go from literally 3,000 responses to a post all the way up to 15,000 responses to a single post, with hundreds of comments, written comments. This is I think it's probably fair to characterize that as somewhat off the measurement chart of Facebook. It's very unusual. So in the process of growing this rather anomalous community, they're paying a lot of attention. They're very engaged. They're super involved. Why do you think you've had such an astonishing response from your audience?
I think it's hard to pinpoint exactly. I think part of it is we aren't asking anything necessarily of them. It's of the audience. It's just a place they can come, a community where it's safe. It's a positive environment. There's so much negativity out there today in the world and online, and we just wanted to be a destination where you could come. And it's always positive. It's not political. There's no right. There's no left. It's just all about being your best self and being in an environment where you can always know you could come and be inspired and be happy. There's nothing more.
It's very authentic.
So I think people appreciate that today, and they want that today, and they crave for that today.
Yeah, because I've noticed, and I appreciate that it's actually a very simple engagement. The conversation is very pure and very brief, which is one of the, I guess, criteria for great success in today's world, which is that you give out what I consider, for me personally, very potent little B12 shots daily, multiple times a day. Did you want to?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's definitely part of the formula for us is, nothing, no information too long. I mean, everything today is 140 characters or less, so to speak. So, our posts are generally short. Our blogs are generally, shorter blogs. They're not very long. The videos are generally, scalable, shorter videos, nothing too long for the most part. So I think that's where we are today in society, and we try and give that to the audience.
And you touched on something earlier that I just want to comment on and maybe talk about a little bit, which is and this is relevant for all business owners, entrepreneurs, small business owners, even larger business owners, which is, where do we find ourselves today, and how did we come to this moment? And I think it's interesting. You founded this just before Labor Day, before Memorial Day?
May last year.
Okay, so it's a year and several months. And I think it's fair to describe that as we would all acknowledge generally this is one of the more unpleasant moments in our economic history, and which means our social history. And as people, as a community, as individuals, a lot of stress. lot of family lives and individual lives being sort of upended unexpectedly in ways that we never would have imagined. And I think in ways that we weren't really prepared educationally for. We weren't trained life literacy skills for such a difficult time. So you guys came up with something that I think had, if you will, extra value in terms of people's attitude about how they're going to make it through the day. Have you had much feedback from people in that way? And do you have a feedback mechanism?
There's been a ton of feedback. I mean, the emails we get daily from people, how lives being changed, people looking at their lives in a different way. On both Facebook and direct emails, it's been phenomenal. I think it's important, and this is something we did early on, is we had to do some personal soul searching. And I think as anybody who's entrepreneurial or who's a business owner, sometimes you have to really look at what you're doing, and is it in line with A, who you are, and B, where things are at right now in this time. Because, as my friend Gary Vaynerchuk says, an elephant can't be a giraffe, but you could be the best elephant you could be. So, are you an elephant trying to be a giraffe, or are you trying to be the best elephant you could be? And that's something that you've got to be able to look in the mirror, and we had to do that too. And we did that, and I think as a business person and a business owner, it's very important to look at where you're at and are you on that right path.
And so you've built in these feedback opportunities for people to communicate with you, but you're not just on Facebook. So I'd like first to set the context. So what are the various forms of social media expression that attach to Positively Positive?
Okay, so we have, first and foremost, Facebook, obviously, www.facebook.com/positively positive. We're on Twitter, Pos Positive, POS Positive. We have positivelypositive.com that launched 3 weeks ago, and we have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/positively positive 1, which is becoming a very active YouTube page with nearly 500,000 views so far.
So I have to ask, okay, so at the 6-month mark, you're already at 500,000 people, yes? That astonishes me. So at that point, you had to have these bubbles coming to the surface saying, oh, this is not a dalliance. This is not just sort of a side item. This is actually, there's an appetite, there's a hunger, there's a need, and we're having positive, constant waves of feedback. We've hit a vein. This is a business. About when did that happen? And obviously you've launched a website. Was that with an eye toward functionally diversifying and exalting the business side as well?
What's the question?
At what point did you start to consider this as a business, number one? It was before the 500,000 mark. I mean, yeah. It was. I remember where it was. We were at about at the 250,000 mark. We were. It was May, June. It was September. So 3 or 4 months in, we were in Hawaii, and we were just looking at the numbers. And we were in Kauai in Hawaii, and we were in the hotel, and we were looking at the website and the Facebook page, and we were just comparing it to other pages with similar numbers and much higher numbers too, and we were realizing the interaction on this page is phenomenal, and people are engaged, and it's authentic, and it's genuine, and people keep coming back. So therefore, in this world of positivity, there's a market and an opportunity to take this to another level. So that's when we started developing the website, and we hired a company, and here we are today. Yeah. So, tell me some of there have to have been some lessons. I mean, you're now managing a community of 1 million, almost 1.1 million people, and you've ported that over to a unique website, which is fast growing. You're going to get, I believe I heard you say, 1 million hits within the first 30 days. We would all just dream of such numbers. But along the way, you have to have learned some lessons, like things that didn't work, things that did work. Or shifts that you made in your internal conversation and your business practices. Can you share a couple of those?
There's been a lot of lessons, and to be honest, we're learning every single day.
Experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's minute to minute. It's such a fast changing environment today. But I think number one would be consistency. We've been, since day one, we haven't missed a day. I mean, literally, it doesn't matter where we are, what's going on. Every day we are consistent. We haven't missed one day in over a year. Number two, I'd say, is authenticity. There's nothing ungenuine on anything you'll see in this positively positive world. It's authentic as apple pie. The lessons, as far as mistakes along the way, it's a good question. Yeah, I'm stuck there. It's yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so one of the things that occurs to me when I think about what positively positive is, and there's a whole trend and discussion about this in social media right now, which is how important is form versus content, right? So design and format and all of that. And many people, and I would be, I suppose, on the side that agrees with the thesis, is pretty is nice, design is nice, but it's not all that relevant. People really deeply care about what you're saying, and it's not so important how you say it or what it looks like when it's delivered to your device. And I think that's one of the interesting things. I mean, you have this website. It's a very well-designed website. But for a year plus, you've gathered this very, very robust, vibrant community, highly engaged on a simple Facebook platform and with Twitter. So why did you decide to create a website? What's the purpose in your minds around the website, and how is it distinguished from the Facebook page?
The website was created because we wanted to have a positively positive destination that Facebook's amazing. It's one of the most amazing inventions of our time, and Twitter as well. But to have a place where you could come and have a library of content to we see it as a daily destination. So if you're going through a hard time or if you need to be uplifted in some way, shape, or form, you can go to the website and find that content. You could search for content. There's different categories from health and wellness to business to relationships and family to giving back and altruism. So it's all there and it's easy to sort through. And you could also sort through sections on quotes and on just videos. So it's a place where everything's categorized and you could always find what you're looking for. So with Facebook and Twitter, it's more what's in the stream at the moment. So if you want to go a little deeper and find stuff, the website's the place to go. So we wanted to have that destination, so it's a daily destination for positivity.
And also use it as a platform, as well.
Yeah, so you can diversify your offering because Facebook fundamentally, it's quotes, it's text, it's a text-based reality. Right. Fundamentally, you've added video, some very cool short videos I've seen. So you can archive all that, and then people, based on their personality, their appetite, their learning style, their mood of the moment, they can go and search various categories and different kinds of content within that category. Okay, beautiful. So, so you see continuing full force on these social media platforms.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the motor.
Yeah. So they drive each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so tell us about the future of Positively Positive. Where do you hope to see this go? What do you think is possible when you have this level of community, this level of engagement, this caliber of what I consider elevated dialogue? I mean, you're sort of shifting the context through elevated dialogue, which leads to, one hopes, a new story for people. And where do you see that going?
A lot of it's organic. I mean, we are gauging what the audience is looking for, and what they want. So we're taking their lead a little bit, but at the same time, we have some big visions. A lot of the entertainment background is where we see this going, and creating utilizing this as a multimedia platform in which we are actually content creators. The big picture could be, TV shows, films, you name it, that uplift. That's definitely a part of it, where we have positive content, and because we meet so many inspiring, amazing people around the world that we have never heard of, and these people, we want to shine the spotlight on them and give them a voice. So this is an opportunity, we feel, where we can really do that in a major way.
So would you agree, or what I'm hearing is, and what I've been sensing is, that the more people genuinely share their stories, the more effective they are in the world, the more people are attracted to them, and they, in reverse, to other folks, that this is really the new business of our life.
It's the new business of our life. I like that. It's, for us, we're finding that sharing genuine, authentic stories about life and who you are, where you're from, where you've come from, where you're going, people can relate to that. There's nothing sugar-coated about it. It doesn't matter if you're, a guy on the street. It doesn't matter if you're, look, we all wake up the same. We all go to the bathroom the same. We go to bed the same. We're born the same. We die the same. So, it's an opportunity to be authentic and be who you are and inspire others at the same time, so they could be their best and you could be your best. We're going to be, actually next week, we're going to be at the Latin Grammys, and we're going to be in the gift lounge. We're going to have our own setup there, so all the nominees and the presenters are going to be coming through and talking with us, and they're going to be talking about things they've overcome in life and things that inspire them, and that way other people can possibly be inspired through their stories of overcoming adversity. So, that's one aspect of it, because it doesn't matter where you come from. There's always a story to share. Everybody's got a story to share.
And that's a great point. And that's what I think you would be the first to agree, because you've now built this massively wonderful community, that it's all about the story behind the story. And it doesn't matter whether you're a business owner or a celebrity or a man on the street, just a human being. You have a great story. And so the Latin Grammy is a wonderful place for these very public figures to share their more personal tale, right? Which I think is refreshing for the audience and for them. But that's what you're allowing people to do. So you have this feedback. So you get a lot of it incoming, and that's what you sort of take to heart and define as your path forward. So would you ever be able to consider conducting any of your businesses now without being on all the social media platforms?
There may be ways, but anything I personally would do, you have to have a presence everywhere, and it's essential today to do business in my point of view. And when you were talking, though, it just reminded me of how these things can turn into really helping people. It just reminded me of a quick story. There was a woman who posted on our Facebook wall that she was going into the hospital to have spinal surgery for cancer, and she asked us if we had any recommendations for any books for her to read while she was in the hospital. So instead of us answering the question, we asked her if it was okay for us to post it to the community. So we posted on our Facebook wall, this woman's story, and do you have any recommendation for any books? And there was nearly 3,000 comments of recommendations to this woman of books, and then people behind the scenes started asking, hey, can we send books to her directly? So behind the scenes we arranged it for people to actually send her books directly. So stuff like that, that's what really fuels the fire at the end of the day, and there's multitude of stories like that. Something triggered your question for me to answer that. Yeah,
it's a fabulous story, and good for you for doing that. And I think there's obviously, you don't have to dig very deep below the surface to realize there's a big moral in that for all of us in business and beyond, but certainly as business owners, to sort of turn the table and reach out to people and say, okay, what would be of value? What if? How can we better help you?
Yeah, and on that note, it reminds me, I'm sure a lot of the audience here, as business owners, if you haven't read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, The Thank You Economy, that book is a perfect example of the time we're in regards to being in the social media world and having an online presence, but also it's the importance of not taking your audience very seriously and treating them like humans. And that's why I think these stories resonate with people, because they're able to be who they are and share their stories. And as a business owner, it's so essential to not treat the customer like a number, because now more than ever with social media, you could get praised in public and you could also get blasted in public. So we really need to do a much better job, I think, in general, of really caring for the customer in a really public way. That's what I'm noticing. So when number one ingredient I said is authenticity, I think it's so important for businesses to really be authentic to the customer. The customer comes first. So, Gary Vaynerchuk's book is an excellent book to read on that topic.
Yeah, and I think for everyone it's different. You're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, now you have a website. I was just talking with someone who, for their constituency and what they're primarily doing, their tools are primarily blog and LinkedIn groups. But having said that, they don't forsake, so they're also on Twitter and Facebook, but their focus energetically is more on some of the other platforms. Google Plus is, a fabulous new platform. So I think it really is up to people to pick and choose and decide. But once you're on one, it's almost cheating yourself not to be on all of them, because you can port over your data. So it's just very interesting. I mean, to grow as sort of fierce and robust, and these people are really, really seriously checking in on a at least almost daily basis. So any parting words, any final thoughts that you would share with business owners about social media in general, or about your particular experience?
Yeah, I'd say, like I said earlier, look at what you're doing. Look at the environment right now. Jumping on the social media in an authentic way right now, in my opinion, is the key. Maybe if you're not yet, just find one that you're comfortable with and start there. Start with Facebook or start with Twitter or LinkedIn, and become an expert at that one, and then move on to the next. That's what we did. We started out just on Facebook. We didn't start on Twitter till I think 6 months in, so we were a little slower with Twitter, but we wanted to master Facebook one thing at a time, and that's how we did it. So I'd say definitely get your feet wet, jump on board. It's an exciting time for it. People are craving it, and infuse positivity into it, because people want positive.
So you just made me think of a final question. So but prior
to... I have something to say too. You can, find your niche, do something that's like true to yourself, because that's what's going to make you the most successful, just like in any business, right?
Yeah. It's, it's like naked speaking. It's like really let people see who you truly deeply are. It's the best offering you can make to the world. Now, before you launched Positively Positive, were you on Facebook already?
He was.
You were not. No, you were.
Still not.
Okay, you're still not. Okay, you had a personal profile, but you alluded to the fact that you are not a master of technology, let alone of Facebook. Okay, so basically,
work in progress.
I'm going to draw this message out because I think it's a fair assessment, which is starting pretty much from the place the everyman starts, which is, okay, I've got a profile on one social media platform. Doesn't make you an expert. You were able to quickly grow a 1 million+ person community without any other. It's not like you came into this with a deep skill set. So I think that's really an important part of the message, is that you don't have to hold back. You don't have to wait. It's not that hard to do this stuff, but it's important to get in the game.
It's actually a great point. I'm glad you brought that up as a final topic here, because I am not a technical guy at all. I was on Facebook. I had a page with a few hundred friends, and just figured it out, and we're still figuring it out. I mean, we have a lot of videos now. If you go to the YouTube page, you'll see the videos, and those videos are videos that I actually did myself. I edited myself, and I never, ever edited anything in my life. And the conversation with Julie was, all right, I need to find somebody to do these videos, to edit these videos. And she's like, you could do it. It's on iMovie on the Mac. You can do it. You can figure it out. And literally, I'm glad she gave me that advice. One night, I was churning these out. So, but when I first looked at it, I was like, there's no way, we got to find somebody else. So, we have the ability, even if we think we don't, to do these things. And the technology these days makes it so user-friendly that really anybody can do it. And this is coming from somebody who's not a techie at all.
Right. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that seem like daunting challenges.
Yeah, they really do.
They're really not.
Yeah.
It's a fire-breathing illusion.
It's just like it's just like the site on we're built on WordPress, and I thought, how are we going to do these blogs? How are we going to put up these? And now we could do it with our eyes closed. But at first, it definitely seemed daunting. But you got to face the fear and hit it head on.
Yeah.
And the more you do it every day, like if you're doing it every day and getting out there and just doing it, you're going to get the hang of it.
That's it right there. It's just like a little bite-sized piece every day. I hear you talking about hosting and all this stuff that a year ago you wouldn't even known what that was. So it's it's baby steps. And getting comfortable and expanding your capacity. And that's what we do as business people, not just with technology or social media platforms, but social media platforms, critical piece, if we really want to have greater reach, if we really want to be in a bigger, more meaningful, deeper conversation with more people. So this is a pleasure. Thank you so much. Julie Handler, Eric Handler, Positively Positive. You'll find it at facebook.com/positively positive. And on Twitter, it's twitter.com/pos, P-O-S, positive, pos positive. And the website is positivelypositive.com. And I am Gary Goldstein, and I am Positively Positive.